You are listening to the More Life podcast.
More Life Podcast.
More life. More life.
This is
the More Life Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to More Life. I am so excited to have you here for this episode. It's definitely going to be a super exciting one. I'm here with Annette Hurley, who is an intuitive career coach and mentor with over 30 years of experience in career coaching and recruitment across different industries and professions. She's also the managing director and the founder of the Career College, which is all about helping you create the life that you dream. Welcome to More Life.
Thank you very much, Hugo.
I'm so excited to have you here because I have been thinking about this for, I think it's almost a year now. We first met at a conference last year that you were on the panel of, and I was there chairing one of the sessions. And I had this question to the panel, all about goals and dreams and that sort of thing. And you came to me afterwards and you said, Gugu, you are only limited by the fences that you put around yourself. And that sort of got me thinking. I thought, wow, that's like, what does that mean? I explored it over even the year after as I was exploring it and thinking about it. And I thought, no, I need to hear more from her. So that's why I ended up reaching out. And I'm so excited that you get to be here and share your wealth of experience as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the honour.
Yeah. Let's start with how you found yourself in this area and in this industry.
Oh, it's actually quite a long story and a twisty one, really. It's like everyone, careers evolve over time. I started in recruitment in my early 20s, and then I found out that people needed support with their resumes, with confidence, with career direction. And then I also found that employers, you could place really good people with quality employers, but when they went there, they perhaps didn't treat the staff as well as they could have, and there was a skills gap there. So I just sort of started to explore that, and it really was just servicing the needs of the hiring clients and also the individuals. And then in my early 30s, I got really sick and spent a couple of years in bed and couldn't get out of bed and couldn't walk and couldn't get a glass of water for myself. And the doctors couldn't cure me, so I needed to learn how to cure myself. So the only thing I had was my mind. And that sent me on a journey of self-discovery around mindset. And so now what I do is combine all of that together with my academic and lecturing background and business and things like that, bring it all together, and it works.
That's incredible. I can imagine how rewarding it is when you're literally transforming people's lives, and giving them the skills to do that, even if they're doing all the work themselves as well.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, everyone's got it within themselves, and it's different for everybody. But from my perspective, there's not enough money in the whole world that could pay for someone doing something that they love.
Yeah, oh, that's so good. So you said everyone's got it within them, so you believe that anybody can change?
1,000%.
Yeah, okay, because we often hear, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, where people go, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and at that age they're set in their ways and that sort of thing. So it is refreshing to hear that there's no limit to, what kind of people can make a difference in their lives, isn't it?
Absolutely. And all of those are belief systems, and they're limiting belief systems. And we're ingrained with those, and some of them from people who love us, trying to protect us, but they do limit us. If you've got the willingness to change, you absolutely can. I'm certainly not the same person I was 1 year ago, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago.
Definitely.
I don't think many people are. But if you go on that conscious journey and that journey within, it's the most rewarding thing you'll ever do.
For sure, yeah. Now, you obviously support people who are probably looking for a change. They might be stuck and they want to change things, or they've come to you because they recognize that they're not where they want to be. Do you believe that you can sort of assist and support people to change if they haven't recognized that they need to change something, or they haven't felt that they can change?
I didn't realise that I was changing your life by that one comment.
Exactly, you honestly did, yeah.
So sometimes you actually say things and people come back to me years later and say, remember what you said? Well, what did I say? So you just don't know.
Yes.
Life has a funny way of putting people in front of you to give you messages, and sometimes you don't even realise you're the messenger. Not just me, everybody.
Yeah.
And I've certainly had quotes that have transformed and inspired my life over time. Everybody can change. I think the people who really want the change and make the commitment to themselves are ones who get the greatest rewards.
For sure, yeah.
Because it can be quite confronting if you take it to a high level. But really all you're doing is confronting your own belief systems. But some of those can be quite strong. Some of them can be cultural, growing up in different countries and different cultures, as we both have. Some of them can be religious belief systems, societal belief systems, things that you've not questioned in life, things that you've actually decided and didn't realise that you did. And to confront those belief systems for some people can be confronting. But however, if you do it, it is extremely rewarding. And to get to the other side of it, the people who really commit to the mastery that I coach, they end up thinking differently to most people on the planet. And if everybody had it, we'd have peace on earth.
Oh, yes. And I think you've mentioned, through the career college as well, that that's really the goal, trying to get peace within yourself and peace around you, essentially.
Absolutely. And, I'm not a brave soldier who goes over to a country and saves people's lives. I certainly honour and respect those people. It's where I am, and that is in my home, in a workplace, and by influencing other people and equipping them with skills and tools and knowledge so that there's a ripple effect out to their families, their homes, their workplaces, their communities.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like that's something, especially in the recent years, there seems to be a general energy where people are really stressed, people are anxious, that sort of thing. Post-COVID, obviously. But yeah, you notice road rage incidents are going up. Even the mental health side of things, rates of anxiety and depression are going up as well. Have you noticed that just in the space that you're working with? Has there been an increase in need for you?
I don't know specifically that within my space there has been, although I'm aware of that. I think that it is my opinion, that we have been through the biggest fear campaign on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And the psychological effect of that, I've heard that it has the potential to be bigger than World War I and II put together.
Right, yeah.
To isolate people, there's nothing social about distancing. And the fear that people have, it's incredible. To come back from that, I think it requires people such as yourself to do these podcasts, people in my field, everybody, no matter where they are, to learn and to come together and to use whatever God-given gifts they have to make a difference in their sphere. So yes, I think there's a lot to be done, but I think to recognise that there's two states of being. One is fear and one is love. And what we've been through is fear. And to return to love means that each person independently needs to make that decision for themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
And then act and behave and choose to be in that space. I don't know if that quite answers your question.
Yeah, no, that's perfect, yeah.
I think it is. And depression and all of that sort of thing. Depression's not doing what you want with your life, but also there's a direct link with depression between food and your mind, lifestyle and your mind, and feeding yourself with all things that create more fear, either through what you're watching, what you're listening to isn't serving you, not spending your time out in nature, and then also putting foods with chemicals in your body.
Yeah.
It's like making that conscious choice to make little decisions on an everyday basis that serve you.
I actually heard a message through church this week that was about how there's so much chaos and disruption in our world, even just, on your phone, the tap of a finger, and there's all these articles and people in the comments are angry and that sort of thing. And it was all about trying to silence that chaos and sort of come back to what is love, what is peace, what is all those positive things. We spoke just before we started recording as well about how, and people who have been listening to More Life for a while know that initially part of the purpose was to have those big conversations, those serious conversations. And I went to this place where I was going, all right, well, what's the benefit? You know, people are already, you know, discussing this. Some people are arguing about things. Could I maybe change it so that More Life is a place that's just peaceful, just love, rather than having all that noise around? What do you think about that idea of having noise around and trying to silence essentially everything that's happening around you?
I definitely agree with the person, the pastor or priest who was ever holding your church service at that time. Absolutely. And we need to make that decision, and it's those small things that we do.
Yes.
And with respect to what's happening as far as the silence is concerned, going back to nature, putting your feet on the ground, lying, listening to the wind, listening to the birds, listening to music, just focusing on your breath. There's very, very simple things.
Yeah, for sure.
We do a monthly meditation for ladies called Empowering Women, and it's like my favourite thing, because how often do we actually just sit for an hour and do nothing and just relax?
Exactly.
You know, we're always putting a load of washing on, or you know, thinking about what we've got to do at work or get the kids to school or whatever the case may be.
For sure,
so,
yeah.
The piece is actually in here, but it extends out. But there's definitely external changes, little and big, that you can make.
Okay, what would you say are some of the biggest steps people can take right now, or start taking now? Because we know that change often, you know, you don't just decide to change and it happens the next day. Some people do. But yeah, what are the biggest things you would say people can do to start changing?
This may be a bit controversial. You said you didn't want to be controversial, but when
I'm excited.
17, when I was 17, I decided to turn off TV.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I would totally agree with that.
Also, the types of movies, the types of media you interact with.
Yeah, for
Definitely.
sure. Yeah. And it's quite interesting. I work with a lot of older adults, so people over 65, often in their 80s, who will spend their day in front of the TV and listening to, you know, I'm not going to say which channels, but, you know, certain channels that we know are replaying the same sort of stories, focusing on the negative. And they often step away from the TV with these thoughts in their head that they believe to be true.
Absolutely.
So you'll walk in, they'll say something, you'll go, oh, well, what about this? And they'll go, no, well, the TV says it's true. So I think that's a big one. I did stop I stopped watching TV a long time ago. I still watch shows, though, and movies. But I've been very conscious about how they make me feel. I realize that there's certain shows I watch where I'll enjoy them, but if they end off on a cliffhanger, I'll find myself stressed and anxious the rest of the day, thinking, what's going to happen? How's this going to work out? And I'm so stressed for them. So I think that's a big one. That's a good one.
Just thinking about what serves you and what makes you feel better. Anything that brings you joy is great.
Yeah, exactly.
So everything that brings you joy, whether that, you know, my daughter's coming with a friend to do pottery.
Yeah.
You know, if it's gardening, if it's going for a walk, if it's going to the gym, if it's doing your podcast, it's doing sewing. And it's remembering those things and putting those joyful things back into your life.
Exactly, yeah. Do you think, though, that there needs to be a balance of being aware of, you know, what's happening in the world and not being so detached from things that you struggle to connect with people and struggle to connect with the world?
I think there's, you do need to be informed. However, over-informing yourself I don't think serves you. But then also be conscious of where you're getting your information from. A lot of the information you may be receiving is propaganda.
Yeah.
There's a lot of alternative media out there.
Yes.
So you may want to sort of explore some of that. And in my experience, what you need to know comes to you.
Right, yeah.
So there's been times in my life where I've needed to know something. Maybe it was to support a client, and 2 hours or a day before, something I would have seen or heard or being told is what I needed to know.
For sure.
There's a level of trust as well.
Exactly. I always hear, I think the stories that I love are almost these encounters with people where you don't expect it, and they go, oh, you know, for example, I was going to go here today, but I decided to take a left turn. I ended up here, ran into this person, and we talked about this, and that really changed my day. So I love those sort of stories.
Synchronicity,
as well. Yes, exactly.
0 degrees of separation, and there's no such thing as a coincidence.
Yes, exactly.
You're meant to be exactly where you are now and learn your lessons, The skill is recognising what the lesson is
Yes.
and having it once and not needing to repeat it.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. I can totally
That
understand.
comes from someone who's repeated a lot of lessons.
For sure.
Take my own advice on
goodness.
that one.
Yeah. I think I have realized that a lot recently. Just every experience, even the most negative ones, like there's just something that you can take from it, something that you learn for the future. And in the moment, it's not easy. You're still, it's still difficult to get through, but you'll often look back on something and go, okay, this was a time that I learned this, or I developed this skill in that. And,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the fact that we might think something is negative is our judgment of the situation. And when we judge, that takes us out of the flow straight away. So, that's a tip perhaps for your listeners, to actually be conscious of their judgments.
Yes,
and move into that space of observation
Yeah,
and
that's
making
good.
choices.
Yeah. A lot of what you talk about is related to your mindset and perspective on things. How do you think people, because you hear the phrase, just change your thoughts, change the way you think. How does that practically work?
Well, for me, when I first started, I think a lovely first place to start is to be conscious of your thoughts. And if you say something to yourself that's not kind, stop it.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to repeat some of the things that I used to say to myself, but I certainly wasn't kind to myself and would berate myself. So that's one of the first places that I started with.
Yes.
Another one is to be conscious of complaining and perhaps take that out and observe it. If you are complaining about something, maybe it might be something you want to change.
That's right.
And then it's to have the courage to change it. In my experience, to say change your thoughts, change your reality, it's actually very true, but it takes great mastery to do it. And a lot of your thoughts you may not be aware of.
Yes.
So, which is what I do in my job, is I listen underneath to get the people's belief systems so that they can understand and be conscious of where they're limiting themselves.
Yeah, that's right. I met a woman a while ago she's when she introduced herself, she said, my job is to listen to what you're saying, but hear what you actually mean.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like that's
I
what it
like
is.
that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, that's another great one.
And it was interesting when she did it to myself. I said, I do this and I feel this. And she said, so what you're saying is this. And I go, wow, I never saw it that way.
That's becoming conscious. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
That's exactly right. And so when you're conscious and you're aware of something, particularly if it is a belief system and a pattern, a belief system is just a thought that's repeated.
Yes.
However, that can change your life for the better or not.
Yes, right.
So when you're aware of that, if you're conscious of it and it's something you want, you can do more of it. If it's something you don't want, you can eliminate it. Whereas if you're unaware of it and you're going on autopilot, then you end up a victim. And then when you're a victim, then you're at a risk of other people driving your life and circumstances. So you want to take that driver's seat back and the steering wheel back of your own life.
Exactly. It's quite interesting. I was speaking to someone recently and they were talking about how they've observed that a lot of people are on autopilot in life and just sort of seeing what comes at them and, essentially not really thinking about their everyday intentions and the like. And when you get to a space, obviously we're having this conversation, we've sort of gotten to this space where we go, all right, well, this is important, we need to address it. But you're surrounded by people who aren't like that. Do you think there's a way to, we talk about the ripple effect around you. Is there a way to do that properly? Should it be explicit where you sit people down and go, this is what I've learned? Or do you sort of, work on yourself hoping that reflects and they come to you?
It's interesting. We'd have to unpack that question a little more. However, self-mastery is about self and about changing yourself and your reactions and your responses to things. Part of that may be that your external circumstances change as a result of that. We are vibrational beings. So when we vibrate at a higher frequency, beautiful people such as yourself ring you out of the blue and ask you to do a podcast. So, that's the way that it works. It's the vibration where you hang out is in your thoughts, and your vibration will attract. So through the law of attraction, that is actually quite real.
And so you don't have to be essentially trying to control people and control things, really.
trying to control external circumstances and all things is very, very stressful, and that's where most of us fall down. It is also very fearful behaviour.
Right.
The only person that you can take charge of is yourself and your thoughts. And when you learn that and you start focusing on that, that's when you will transform your life.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. There's the idea of being on autopilot, those people who aren't even thinking about anything. It's just the day-to-day processes. But there are a lot of people who know that they are stuck, and they feel as if they're funneling into this place where they're just essentially spiraling, and they know they're stuck, they can't change, they're wondering what to do. What would you say are some of the first steps they can take?
It's an interesting question. So the first one is the people who you're describing are what we would call unconscious, which means that they're unaware of their behaviours and their external circumstances. Those that are and want to change, make a list of what it is that you do want, and if you're not sure what you do want, think about the things you don't want. Don't make a list.
Yes.
And flip them around.
Yeah, right.
So I don't want to work 90 hours a week. I want a better work-life balance. I don't want to live in a noisy environment. I would like to live in a more peaceful environment. What would that look like? And work towards bringing, or be conscious to bring, those things into your life.
Right.
So you don't need to know the end answer necessarily. Just trust the process.
For sure, yeah.
And then be aware of what comes into your space.
So break it down, simplify it.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so.
So I suppose it's like having a look at the big picture. What do I want as an end goal? But then how do I, slowly make my way there, essentially?
Yes, I think so. And it's I was thinking of doing something 1,000 steps to wellness. And the 1,000 steps to wellness is not that it takes 1,000 steps to be well. It's all the little things that you do.
Right.
It's all the little changes in life. It's all the little. There's only the now, and that's all that there is. The past is gone. The present's not there. So really, all you can do is change something now. And if you're changing something and it's really big, at the end of the day, it's one thought or one action.
Exactly, that's right. I just wanted to ask you about one thing, because I've been speaking about this with people, and that's the idea of people pleasing. So not being able to say no to things, feeling like you have to be the nicest and friendliest and person and most self-sacrificial person for everyone to, or essentially to keep the peace. What are your thoughts or experience around people pleasing?
It's a really great question. If you people please, you will never be happy. So give up people pleasing.
Yeah.
It's one of the steps we have in our coaching program.
Right. Yeah.
Definitely don't people please.
And I do think...
And it's, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think when people try to get out of people pleasing, do you find they often, have their boundaries too firm, where they're, quite angry and say no to everything? And if you do find that, could it be a good thing? Is it a start to then go back to being in that balanced state?
In my experience, it's a really interesting observation, Gugu. In my experience of myself, when I first started going from that people-pleasing space to not, there was a phase where it was just sort of coming out, bloop.
Yeah.
And it didn't come out quite the way I wanted to. But as you evolve and learn more mastery tools, you learn to express yourself more lovingly.
Exactly, yeah.
To be kind with yourself.
For sure. I feel like that's a good intro. That's a good, brief overview of what you have been working on over so many years and what you have to share. There's so much more that we could go into. And I think maybe another time we could even just chat, the two of us. Sure. But before we sign off, can you share a little bit about the Career College and what you do, and maybe if people want to find out more and join?
Thank you. Yes. Well, the Career College, as you know, came from my recruitment background. Our logo is you on top of the world, tuned to a higher frequency, source, God, spirit, whoever your power with is. You're deeply rooted in the earth. And in our logo, there's actually some ancient symbols in there. So when you get a chance, you might want to look and see
Break
if
them
you can
down.
find
Yeah,
those.
interesting.
So the Career College really is 100% about you. We do executive mindset and career coaching. You can come in and just get your resume looked at, or career direction, anything like that. Or you can come in if you want to know more about the self-mastery.
Yeah.
And we also support organisations to create more loving workplaces. That doesn't necessarily mean that we run around hugging and kissing each other, although I do run on hugs.
Yeah.
What it does mean is that it's more respectful workplaces, clear communication, places where people feel empowered. It's okay to make mistakes and come together and really unite in that power of love to create an awesome difference in whatever field they're in.
That's incredible, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that, it's called the Career College, but a lot of those skills are things that are applicable anywhere. It's not just about, this is for my job. It's how will this affect my relationships, my family, that sort of thing.
Oh,
Isn't it?
yes, definitely. Yeah. It'll improve your relationships, personal, professional, relationship with yourself, health, wellness, be a better leader.
Yeah.
Be a better parent. It's all encompassing. And I think the correction is that career to me is your whole life.
Yes.
It's not just what you do for a job.
For sure, yeah, that's interesting.
However, people come to me for their career because they might not be happy in their career. So if they want to, we can delve deeper, and then they may come in and find something different.
Yeah. Is that the best place for people to contact you if they do hear this episode and want to ask a question? Would you say
or
the
if they
website?
look up Annette Hurley, they'll find me.
Anyway, yeah. Before we go as well, what does the phrase more life mean to you?
More life. I think we could always have more life. Focus on life. Focus on being well. Focus on being healthy. Love yourself. Love others. And know that if there's something in your life that you're not happy about, you have the power within to change that. And I wish you all the best with having more life.
Oh, thank you so much, Annette. Thank you so much for having me in your home as well. And being on More Life, I feel like people are really going to love this episode and learn so much even in the few minutes that we were talking.
I do hope so.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Lots of love, everybody. Best wishes.